Today I'm talking about something that looks really good on the outside. It gets praised, applauded, it gets called maturity, responsibility, strength. That's self-discipline. Stick around and let's see what the upside and then maybe the downside of self-discipline is on this episode of The Nourished Life for Christian Women. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of The Nourished Life for Christian Women. Today we're talking about discipline. You push through, you stay consistent, you ignore distractions, you do what needs to be done no matter how you feel. And on the surface, that looks admirable. But there's a quieter question underneath that we don't ask nearly enough. At what point does discipline become disconnection? Because sometimes what we call discipline is actually self-abandonment, but with really good PR. It looks like eating past fullness because this is the nutrients we planned and we need to eat this full meal. Back in the day, if you're raised like I was, it's the clean your plate club. It looks like ignoring hunger because I already ate. I can't be hungry again. It looks like saying yes when something inside of you is clearly saying no. I'm sure you've never done that, but others have. Pushing through exhaustion because rest feels undeserved. Following the plan while slowly losing connection with yourself. And if you recognize yourself in any of this, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not broken. You've just learned how to override yourself really, really well. I remember one client in particular who had a very high stress career where she was responsible for literally life-changing circumstances for the people that she worked with. During the day, she was really disciplined with her food and kept her emotions in check as she performed all the duties for her job. At the end of the day, she'd drop out of her couch and completely check out. I'm not talking about replenishing herself. I'm talking about checking out by binging shows and snacks. Her nervous system was crying out for balance. Her strict discipline during the day had crossed over into self-abandonment. We were able to work together to bring her back to herself, which in turn stopped the binging. There's a particular kind of woman who struggles with this the most: a thoughtful, driven, deeply committed to doing things well, and what she considers to doing things right. You've probably been praised for being reliable, consistent, self-controlled, the one who holds it all together. And over time, those traits start to shape an identity. I'm someone who follows through, no matter what, even when no matter what may include leaving yourself behind. This shows up in more places than we realize. In our relationship with food, it can look like overriding our hunger. It can look like mistrusting our body. It can look like trying to get it right instead of listening. In our relationship with our body, it can be pushing instead of partnering with it. It can be measuring it instead of appreciating it. In our life, it can look like staying in patterns that look good externally while feeling quietly disconnected internally. And here's where it gets tender. Many of us learned very young that being good means being agreeable, disciplined, low maintenance, that our needs were optional, that our bodies were negligible, and our our inner voice could be edited. So we adapted, not because something was wrong with us, but because we were trying to belong, to succeed, to be loved. And that's normal. And that adaptation probably served us at one point. But what worked then can quietly cost you now, because the same patterns that helped you function then may now be the very things that are keeping you from feeling fully alive. There's another way to live, not less committed, not less intentional, not less responsible, but more connected. A way where discipline is no longer about overriding yourself, but about staying with yourself, where you listen before you lead, where you notice before you correct, before you respond, or when you respond instead of react. That is self-trust. For many women, it feels unfamiliar at first because it doesn't come with rigid rules, it doesn't earn quick applause, and it doesn't always look impressive. If you're the one who knows how to say no, you know that that doesn't always look impressive to other people. Other people generally prefer people who are going to say yes, regardless of what it costs them. But it requires something deeper. It requires a willingness to believe that your body is not the problem and your voice is not the enemy. From faith perspective, this matters more often than we realize. We were not created to live in constant opposition to ourselves. We were created with intention, with design, with internal wisdom, not to be controlled into submission, but to be stewarded with care. We can think of Jesus Christ himself, always our perfect example. If ever there was someone who had good reason to be disciplined, to push through, to ignore distractions, and to get things done, it's Jesus. He literally had the most important job in all of history, and in such a short time to do what he needed to do. And yet, in the New Testament, it says that Jesus withdrew himself into the wilderness to pray. And we have shown examples of him taking meals with friends and pausing to have an unplanned conversation. Think about that for a minute. With everything he had to do, and only about 3 years from the time when he let the world know he was the Messiah and began teaching to when he was crucified, 3 years to establish the everlasting gospel, to establish his kingdom, and to prepare the apostles for it to be left in their hands. He still dined with friends, rested, and took time alone to pray. His example makes such a powerful statement about the value of connection to self and to others. Discipline, when it's out of balance, leads to disconnection and self-abandonment. Stay with yourself, like Jesus did. So maybe the question isn't, why can't I be more disciplined? Maybe the question is, where have I been leaving myself behind in the name of doing things right? And even more gently, what might change if you started staying? Staying with your body, staying with your needs, staying with your own inner voice, even when it's inconvenient, staying with yourself. Because the goal was never perfection, it was always connection. And if you're realizing that you've been choosing discipline over connection lately, I want you to hear this. You're not behind. You're not failing. You're not weak. You're just being invited back to yourself. And that invitation, it's not indulgent, it's holy. That kind of balance is an integral part of living a life that's truly nourishing body and soul. See you next time.